something special, our Wounded Warrior program. We again want to thank Greg Johnson of Wisconsin and Richard Rosenberg for starting this whole program. Before I start, though, I want to thank all of you men and women, veterans sitting out in the audience. Some of you that have seen the worst and done the most, talk the least. And we want all of you to know how much we appreciate you, because without you, we would not be here tonight. We have a table full of veterans sitting right there. 4 American heroes are sitting right there. And we welcome you to come over and talk with them anytime during the evening. We had 2 veterans from last year, and they've got on their hunts, so they're going to come up and tell you about their successes. And as the outfitter said to me, thank God we got somebody that could shoot. Would Joshua Kruger, United States Marine Corps, please come up? My Marco Solt, Staff Sergeant, United States Army. They're going to tell you about their hunt.
Good evening. So I went on a moose hunt, and I went with Stone Mountain Outfitters. Leif Olson, where you at? Is he here tonight? Guess not. Oh, he is. Stand up, Leif. There he is. Took me on a moose hunt and treated me like family. I got to meet his family. Everybody treated me with the utmost respect and gave me a great hunt. So I want to say thank you to GSCO for providing this for me. I got some stats about my hunt. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but here's some stats for you. Time in the truck, 72 hours. Time on a horse, 11 hours. Time hunting a moose, 35 minutes. And that goes to the efficiency of Stone Mountain Outfitters, right there. 35 minutes, it was done. While I was sitting in there on that long drive, I started to question. I like to ask the why question. Why does this work? Why does it make a difference? What is it about these hunts that has some sort of healing aspect to it? And I guess I didn't come to any real conclusion, but I guess it's different for everybody. Whether it's the serenity of the outdoors, the untouched wilderness, the bond you establish with that animal, or just being around great people. The only thing that I can answer is it does work, and it does heal. So thank you, GSCO and Stone Mountain Outfitters, for this opportunity.
Good evening. So about a month ago, I was able to fly down to El Paso to meet up with Rowdy McBride and go on my first ever sheep hunt. It's been one of my lifelong goals was to be able to hunt sheep, and without GSCO and Rowdy McBride, I don't think it would ever happen. And just to piggyback off what Josh said, this truly is a healing process for us. I mean, we all went through different things, but I think with at least a veteran sitting at this table, we all know what the healing of being in the outdoors can do for a person. And so with that, I just really want to thank, Rowdy McBride again, GSCO, for being able to put me on the greatest hunting experience I've ever had in my life. I was able to harvest the best thing I've ever done, and to the guys that are getting awarded tonight, I just wanted to say, congratulations, you guys are all heroes. Thank you for your service, and congratulations, you guys are gonna have a great time. Thank you.
Would you run the video, please?
2018 marks the 4th year for the GSCO Wounded Veteran Program. Up to this point, this has been made possible by some very generous donors and auction buyers, and we anticipate the program moving forward and growing for many years to come. The Wounded Veteran Committee is made up of Dan Adler of Arizona Air Force, Seth Campbell of Alabama Army, Keith Height of Pennsylvania Army, Dale Martin of Iowa Marines, and Harvey Trueblood of Alabama Navy. This committee will be coming to the stage to help honor this year's recipients. Yes, we said recipients because this year the committee could not help but choose 2 from the several applications submitted. Before we get to this year's recipients, We'd like to mention that the 2015 recipient was Sergeant Major Hugh Foskey, and he got a Wyoming bighorn on his hunt that year. Outfitter Josh Martolio guided Hugh free of charge as part of GSCO's program. The 2016 recipient was Sergeant First Class Jeremiah Wagner. He hunted with Leif Holson and Stone Mountain Safaris to get a great Canada moose that fall. We had 2 recipients last year, and they were Sergeant Marco Solt of Minnesota and Staff Sergeant Joshua Kruger of Wisconsin. Joshua also hunted with Leif Olson and Stone Mountain Safaris in October 2017 and took a fine Canada moose. Marco hunted with Rowdy McBride in West Texas and was able to take an Outdad ram in December of 2017. Both Joshua and Marco are here with us tonight, so both of you, would you please quickly begin making your way to the stage? I want you to help us honor this year's recipients. We'd like to ask you to hold your applause, as hard as that's going to be, until the end of the program, but right now, we'd like to invite this year's recipients, Chief Warrant Officer 5 Bradley A. Garfield and Captain Christopher Migliaro Jr. to begin making their way to the stage. Captain Christopher Migliaro Jr. calls Flemington, New Jersey home. Chris is married to Kate Migliaro and has 2 sons, Christopher and Albie. Chris entered West Point in June 2002 and had plans to fly helicopters. During his junior year, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan were well underway, and he had a strong desire to lead men in combat, to get out on the ground and take our enemies head on. When the day came to make his selection for branch assignment, he chose infantry. Upon graduation from West Point, he was assigned to the 2nd Infantry Division and immediately shipped out to Iraq in September 2007. He was assigned as a platoon leader in charge of 25 men operating in Al-Dura, Baghdad, Iraq. After this deployment, he returned to Fort Carson and began preparing for his next deployment, which was to Afghanistan in June 2009. Halfway through this second deployment, he took over as Alpha Company commander in charge of 145 men. They were operating out of the Pech River Valley in Kunar, Afghanistan, which was the most kinetic and hostile terrain in all of Afghanistan. Christopher's first injury occurred when his patrol was caught in a complex ambush. They were being engaged with heavy weapons fire and rocket-propelled grenades. During this engagement, several rounds penetrated his vehicle and he took bullet fragments to his back and shoulder. His second injury occurred on his last day in Afghanistan. As he was walking in an area close to the base, automatic grenade rounds landed right behind him. Christopher was blasted to the ground, receiving shrapnel to the back and the back of his head. He suffered a concussion, traumatic brain injury, and temporary loss of vision in his right eye. Some of the important awards associated with why Chris was chosen are the Purple Heart, Bronze Star, Meritorious Service Medal, Army Commendation Medal, Army Achievement Medal, Iraq Campaign Medal, Afghanistan Campaign Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Combat Infantryman Badge, Expert Infantryman Badge, Airborne Wings, Air Assault Wings, Pathfinder Badge, and Ranger Tab. After returning home from Afghanistan in 2010, Chris recovered from his physical wound, but it was the emotional wounds of losing men under his command that he suffered from the most. He found himself withdrawing from activities he had enjoyed his whole life, and relationships were starting to shatter. Chris's wife, Kate, urged him to get help, but he resisted because he thought he would seem weak. In a last-ditch effort, Kate and one of Chris's non-commissioned officers bought him a compound bow, and unknowingly, his life was changed forever. Chris readily admits that hunting and everything associated with it became his escape and truly saved his life. In his application, Christopher wrote, "It would be an absolute dream of a lifetime to be selected for the GSCO Wounded Veteran Hunt Program, one that will continue to change me and teach me what the great outdoors can do for the human spirit. And win, lose, or draw, that's one of the greatest trophies you can ever take home." Chief Warrant Officer Vi Bradley A. Garfield lives in Rockwall, Texas. In 1982, Bradley enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, where he first served as a machine gunner. In October 1983, he participated in Operation Urgent Fury to liberate the island of Grenada. Only 7 days after Grenada's liberation, Brad was on board the USS Guam en route to Beirut, Lebanon, where he spent 4 months ashore with the multinational peacekeeping forces. In 1987, Bradley received orders to the Naval School Explosive Ordnance Disposal. From 1992 to 1994, he participated in Operations Provide Promise, Provide Hope, and Continue Hope for the Bosnian War and conflict in Somalia, respectively. In 1996 and 1997, he assumed command at the American Embassy, Maputo, Mozambique, and then the American Embassy, Montevideo, Uruguay. In 1999, Brad was appointed as a warrant officer. In February 2005, Bradley's EOD team deployed to Iraq. Only 3 months later, he was medevaced from Iraq when an improvised explosive device consisting of 155mm and two 130mm projectiles blew up on him at a distance of 5 feet. He was attempting to disarm the IED at the time when it was detonated by anti-coalition personnel. He sustained bilateral eardrum ruptures, numerous herniated discs, and bilateral bicep tendon ruptures. He also required 2 knee debridements to remove shrapnel from his left knee and has been diagnosed with mild traumatic brain injury. Well, after a long recovery period, Bradley was able to complete the remainder of his 30-plus year career in 2012. Bradley's personal decorations include the Legion of Merit, the Purple Heart, the Navy Marine Corps Commendation Medal with Combat V and 2 gold stars, the Army Commendation Medal, the Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal with gold star, the Army Achievement Medal, the Combat Action Ribbon with 2 gold stars, the Marine Corps Expeditionary Medal, the Humanitarian Service Medal with Bronze Star, the Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal with Bronze Star, and the Marine Security Guard Ribbon. Bradley admits he's been fortunate to hunt many big game animals over his 20-plus years of hunting. He's vowed to represent wounded veterans with the utmost of dignity. Brad has planned, organized, and executed numerous wounded veteran hunting events over the last several years and is extremely appreciative of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity provided by Grand Slam Club Ovis. Bradley's involved with many nonprofit organizations, including Hunts for Healing, Patriot and Heroes Outdoors, Idaho and Heroes Outdoors, Honoring Our Veterans, Leak Hunting and Mountain Preserve, and is a board member of SCI's Veterans Services Committee. So ladies and gentlemen, would you now join us in congratulating these American heroes who've made it possible for us to even be here tonight. Let's hear it for them.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can see how they can fight. Let's see how they can talk. Bradley?
Is this on? Thank you. I told them I didn't want to stand behind the podium. All right, last time I addressed a conference like this, it was probably 3 or 4 years ago at the Safari Club Veterans Breakfast. I was asked to come and speak as a veteran, to come and speak to Veterans Breakfast. Unbeknownst to me, I had the displeasure of following Mr. Jim Shockey. Yeah, there he is. You remember that? You embarrassed the crap out of me. Oh, anyway, you're a good-looking dude, nice, tall, dark, handsome guy wearing a hat, but I think I outdressed you. All right, I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what I'm going to say to the audience here that came to listen to us speak. I've been rehearsing it, been talking about it. I put a bunch of words down. I got them right here. Got all this crap that I prepared. But to my wife's dismay, I'm going to wing it. I spent 2 weeks preparing that. Well, I would be remiss if I were not to stand before all of you and publicly thank my wife of 32 years. Thank you. She deserves the honor. I spent over 20 of the 30 years that I served deployed. 3 months, come back, 6 months, come back, a year, come back. Every time I came back, life was the same because I had that woman by my side. She's my rock, and I love her dearly. Thank you. Sorry, I'm not going to say a whole lot, but I'm going to thank a few people. I also need to thank Bob and Kathy Duhadaway. You know their names. Bob bid on a hunt last night for the, what are they called, Honor somebody, the other veteran organization, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Gave $20,000 and then gave it back. That's what Bob and Kathy do. They talk with their wallet. They don't just shake somebody's hand and say, hey, thank you for your service. You know, they're out there doing it. They're taking guys on hunts from Walter Reed and Bethesda from the hospitals, and they're doing it. They're not just talking about it. I'd like to thank all the members, all of you sitting out there. I appreciate what you do. I would not be up here if it weren't for you and for your gracious and selfless donations. I appreciate it. I'm still kind of nervous and shaken from watching the program there. Kind of choked me up and brings back good and bad memories. I apologize. I'd also like to thank Antonio from Iber Hunting. He's the one that donated the hunt that hopefully myself and this Army cat back here are going to go on. Also, you know, before I came here, I never even heard of half of these species that we're talking about up here. I couldn't tell you the difference between a chamois or a, you know, mountain goat. I don't know what they are. I hunt whitetail, elk, some of that stuff in North America, shoot a lot of pigs in Texas, but that's about all that I do. So again, this is an opportunity of a lifetime for me to be able to travel, hopefully to Spain, and see something I've never seen before. And I couldn't do that without all of you. I also want to thank the board, especially Dale there. He's kind of been our babysitter, our tour guide, been taking us around and making this an incredible experience. We've had a great time. And all that is in gratitude to you all as well. I thank God for being born in this great nation, the greatest nation in the world. And I'll leave that with you and say God bless you all. God bless this great nation. Thank you.
And now we're going to have that Army guy, the captain, Christopher.
Evening. So I, like Brad, prepared a pretty lengthy speech, but I'm gonna try and wing it as well. What? No, I don't need your glasses. First and foremost, I want to thank the GSCO for having me here. This has been an amazing experience. I've met some amazing people, and thank you very much for this opportunity of a lifetime. I'm truly humbled, and I can't wait for this experience. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I feel blessed to have worn the uniform of an American soldier. I truly do. It's probably the greatest thing I've ever done in my life, besides convincing this woman right here to marry me. She caught the raw end of the deal on that one, but you know, growing up in Connecticut, it's not really your typical hunting state per se. My father ensured this feeling of family and team in me growing up, and we spent our days outside chasing animals and frogs in the woods, and we weren't allowed to own video games, and we weren't allowed to sit inside and watch TV. It was go outside, play a sport, or go outside and be in the woods. And looking back on that now, it shaped who I am. I forgot about the outdoors for a little bit and pursued hockey so that I can get a college scholarship and go play at the academy. And looking back now, it instilled this sense of family and belonging in me, that team comes first. And I wouldn't know the true meaning of sacrifice until much later in life, but you know, missing parties and missing events so that I was a team player and made sure I was at games and practices, that became commonplace. you know, this concept was so important. And once I got to Afghanistan, I really realized this importance of family and team. And, you know, that was my first real job. I had 150 guys that looked up to me as the father. You know, I was in charge of their protection. I made the decisions. And if something went wrong, it was my fault. If something was right, it was their fault. But, you know, we built this bond, this family bond that you can't, you just can't explain. And you know, it was built around sadness, it built around success, it built around confusion, and you know, we fought in the Pesh River Valley, like they said, and it was we called it the Valley of Death. And you know, most of us made it home. There's some guys that didn't. There's not a day that goes by I don't think about them. And I'm sorry. And those are what I struggle with the most, you know. Did I do the right thing? What if we did this? What if we did that, you know? And as we started coming back, you know, this news of guys struggling around post and suicide and guys just having a hard time. You know, that was my battle. And you know, that was where I struggled. And God bless my wife, she never gave up on me. And I went into this place that I just shoved people off, and I didn't want to play hockey anymore. I didn't want to be outside anymore. And in kind of a last-ditch effort, she went out and bought me this bow for my birthday. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? And sure enough, Sergeant First Class Dillon, God bless his soul, he took me out into the woods, and he kind of cut me loose. He was like, you're an officer, figure it out. And you know what? Hunting saved my life. I was in a bad place, and the great outdoors, they saved my life. It's amazing what they do for the human spirit. But it wasn't always, you know, roses and rainbows. I was bad. I was terrible. I didn't know anything. And as you can imagine, I went for a lot of walks in the woods with my bow. 8 hours just walking, looking for animals, and so I was determined. It was a struggle that I embraced. It was it was a good struggle for once. So I started reading everything I possibly could. I started watching Mr. Jim Shockey, Mr. Tom Miranda on TV, and it made me more determined. I'm like, these old guys can do it, I can do it. But it made me determined, and it made me a better bow hunter, it made me a better outdoorsman. And you know, fast forward 7 years later now, and I still have more stories of failure under my belt than I do success. But I have a freezer full of meat. I've met some amazing people like yourselves. I get to shoot my bow every night after dinner with my 4-year-old and 6-year-old sons, and I don't get yelled at for it. So, with that, I thank each and every single one of you in this room for what you've done for conservation, what you've done for people like me. And I look forward to many, many more years of seeing you guys coming here and getting outside in the great outdoors and its impact on my spirit, the human spirit, and my family. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much.
Oh, wait. No, I'm not done. Ladies and gentlemen, meet our 2 newest honorary life members. We'll take a few pictures, we'll get on with the program.